All right, welcome back everybody to another wonderful episode of AI plus Data Mastery. We are here to reshape how B2B businesses communicate, work, talk together, and just really network. We're trying to provide as much value to the B2B space as humanly possible. Quick thanks to our two sponsors, Data Accelerator and Evolve with AI. You guys allow us to be here interviewing cool people like Mike, who I'll introduce here in 2 seconds. My name is Jason, I'm your host today, and without further ado, we have a B2B business consultant, Mike Hoard, on with us today. And I'm really excited. This guy's B2B businesses, he's AI consultant, like it just hits on all the notes that we like to cover on the show. So without further ado, thanks for being here today, Mike, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jason. I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to having a great conversation about AI.
Yeah, for sure. So jumping right in here, can you tell us kind of a little bit about your background, what kind of got you here into B2B business consulting and AI consulting and things of that nature?
Sure. So I've been in the marketing and sales consulting space for about 25 years now. And then really just based on where the industry had continued to go from simple automations 10, 15 years ago to today with the AI, I've just kind of tried to stay ahead of the curve on where the industry is going, where the technology is going, to provide clients with a really, really strong implementation of the technology that they can leverage to really accelerate their growth. And most recently with AI, it's been, how they can extend conversations with clients to kind of educate the customer a little bit more and really accelerate the overall lead gen, demand gen, and stuff like that. That allows a company to really get that hockey stick up to the right kind of growth they're looking for. So it's been an interesting journey. AI is just blowing up even over the last couple of weeks with everything with OpenAI and the investments getting made around the world right now. It's going to be really interesting to see where it goes in 2026.
Absolutely. I read an article, not to get off topic, but I read an article how it's AI is the big investment, but like the big boys, like your BlackRock and everybody, they're investing in the energy to keep the AI data centers going. I didn't realize this, but like one AI data center takes up the same electricity in the same year as 150,000 homes. One AI data center. So that's where, and not to digress, but it's like the big move right now. What it seems like is how are we going to keep all these AI data centers and everything powered and running and up without crashing, basically. But
yeah, absolutely.
Let me ask you. Obviously, you're talking to businesses on a daily basis and interacting with multiple businesses. What is the consensus? And when I ask that, do you feel like businesses are asking you like, hey, Mike, I need to implement AI. How can I do it? What's the best way to do it? Or is it more of you like telling them like, hey, XYZ business owner, you need to implement AI. Your stuff's outdated. Do you feel like it's more of like you talking? No, I don't want to say talking them into it, but like, do they want it or are you educating them more?
Vast majority of cases, they want it. They just don't know where to go because everyone's throwing it at them.
They know they need it, but it's just like what is it like? Just kind of bug-eyed deer in a headlight type of look, right?
But that proverbial like deer in headlights, like everyone's pitching their AI solution to them, and they're like, I don't know what to do, how to do it. Like for example, I had a customer last week was like, our CRM is 15 years old, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, then don't even talk AI at this point. Like if you have you have bigger fish to fry before you even get to AI. But I mean, they're just getting inundated because everyone has some AI solution that they're pitching in right now.
Yeah, and I feel like especially guys like yourself play a tremendous value because of so many options, and then it's getting them to work together, right? Because it's not like there's not just one AI tool that can do everything, and in a business, depending on the business, you typically need multiple AI tools, whether it's something to help with sales calls, something to help with the emails, something to help with the ads, right? Or email copy, graphic design, all kinds of stuff. But it's like, hey, how do I not like break the bank and go pay for 10 different AI softwares or systems or, SaaS products when 5 will do? Or like, am I double paying for if it's one software doing something that I'm already paying for another software that's doing? I think that's where, the real value comes in, is making it as efficient as possible. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, providing them that roadmap.
And that's, I think, what it really boils down to. It's like, what AI piece is going to create the greatest impact for you. And I look at it the same way I looked at it back when workflow automation was all the rage, like 10, 15 years ago. It's like, we're not just going to put automation in place for the automation's sake. Like, let's look at where you have gaps in your processes, gaps in your customer journey, let's say, and find ways to fill those with AI. Let's leverage the AI in that sense and then build around that. So at least you're solving a problem. You're not just putting it in. It's just one more thing you have to manage that you're already struggling to manage what you have currently on your plate, kind of thing.
And I'm sure it's probably a priority list too. So it's like, what's the biggest gap that needs to get filled, and then kind of work your way down from there, because you can't solve every problem at once, obviously. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, what would be, maybe give us a case study of, it doesn't have to be recent, but a business that you were able to come into and provide the most impact on through your marketing, consulting, and AI help.
Sure. I mean, a great example is a recent company I was working with. They had a pretty well-structured engine, for their lead gen. They have a really strong telemarketing team and inside call center. The problem,
what kind of business was it?
I'm sorry?
What kind of business was it? Sorry to cut you off.
It was a services business. They did exterior services.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was a little bit outside of the B2B SaaS space, but it was a company that, they had a good program. They realized their lead gen had flattened out and they were losing a lot of leads. And when we dug in, we realized they were losing those leads. They were losing because the way that their advertising was going on Google and Facebook and Meta and Instagram and all the different sources they were having, they were losing a lot after hours, because people are up at 2 a.m, happen to click on an ad and they weren't getting engaged with for the next day, let's say, right? So
not even email or anything, right?
Not by anything, because they just weren't being. So that's where the AI came in. So we leveraged some basic AI generated automations that had an AI agent attached to it that allow them to just get spoken to via text at 2 a.m. Hey, we got your inquiry. They just basically confirmed some information the AI did, and we were able to kind of just pass that along and say, okay, great. If they could get an appointment booked, they booked the appointment. If not, it just passed into the next morning, and the person that hit, first one online jumped on when there was a special queue set up. So that was an instance where, because we were able to do that, we literally doubled the volume of qualified leads in like 3 months, just by implementing that sort of change. And it was eye-opening, because they started realizing how much they were losing by not being available as much as the customer wanted you available,
And it's not even so much that they're available, it's just that communication. Because think about it, like if you're up at 2 a.m. and you fill out a form, I have a wife and kids, so I'm not trying to get on a phone call with anybody at 2 a.m, but when I hit submit, I want to get something back, like confirming that, hey, my information just didn't go out into the internet somewhere and disappear. Like, this business actually got my information, they received it. What are the next steps? Quick text confirmation, hey, click to book the next call, and start engaging with that person right away. And I think it makes, obviously everybody in the marketing business has heard the term like speed to lead. And I think that is, it's extremely relevant. And nowadays it's almost like, if you're losing the speed to lead game, then like, what are you really doing? Between AI voice agents, AI text, AI email, like there's no reason that if somebody fills out a form on your website or landing page, that you shouldn't be engaging with them within like seconds, not minutes or hours.
You're 100% right. And when it's done conversationally as well, has even that much more impact on getting that customer to book the appointment before they go to 3 other sites online because you didn't respond, and that's the biggest difference, is getting that person to feel like you're available to them. Like you said, it doesn't have to be an actual person, but like if I'm at 2 a.m, filling out a form and I immediately get a response like, hey, got your inquiry. Can I just qualify a couple of things? I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like I'm able to kind of the first 4 steps of the process out before I even talk to a person now, which means my time is valuable to them. That's how they're looking at it. Like, they're saying, your time is valuable to us. Let us confirm all the details before we get on the phone. So when you actually do talk to one of us, It's more purposeful. It's going to get you further down the road towards whatever it is you're looking for, which that's what people want.
Yeah, and for any business owners or leaders listening to this, when Mike says an AI agent, we're talking about like a fluid, conversational, regenerative AI type of agent. We're not talking somebody, hey, Mike, just to confirm you booked your call at this time and this date, and we'll see you soon. It's like, hey, Mike, this is Jason with XYZ company. Really appreciate you booking your call. Can you answer a few questions for me so I can make sure you get to the right person? And then literally has a text conversation with that person, communicating, engaging, and already building that relationship. Yeah. Which is cool now too, that SDR comes in to make the phone call. It has the whole text chain. It can get a kind of a personality type from the text messages and the communication. Yeah. And now, like you said, it's a much more meaningful and impactful conversation.
And that's really just one way, that AI is getting implemented now to solve that problem. I mean, that's just, really, like, to me, like, that's like the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. Like, that's like a really easy solution that most companies are looking for, because they never really thought they had a problem there. A lot of companies think they have like their ideal windows of opportunity where if we call it this time or at this time, that's when people are buying, but they don't realize it's a different world now. Like, people are buying 24/7, like, so like you have to be available 24/7. If you can do that, it's a quick win that fills the pipeline, solves that speed to lead problem, and it'll let you focus on some of the other problems or some of the other issues you may have downstream that you could also plug in some AI now to solve as well.
Absolutely. So you're saying that like that initial speed to lead follow-up's just the tip of the iceberg. What would you say is like the next layer down in terms of like AI agents and tools that maybe business owners, because yeah, you're right, the AI SDR, I mean, you can't go on Facebook now as a business owner and not see an ad for some sort of AI, SDR type of appointment booking software. So then what would be like the next layer down, or maybe some other tools that you've helped clients implement?
I mean, recently, again, the same company, it was just getting more higher call volume, and again, because we were able to qualify more of these appointments earlier in the funnel, more towards the top, we were able to fix the call volume and call quality problem we were having. That's what got exposed next, because now we had all these leads coming in, but we weren't reacting to them fast enough as they came in down funnel. So you start to see, like, you'll start at the top of the funnel and slowly it's going to work level by level kind of until you get all the way through to, you get into sales appointments and what the sales reps are doing, with the customers and how they're communicating with the customers and how that's impacting close rate. And that's another area that AI is great right now, to implement tools that allow you to kind of monitor the conversations, monitor the appointments, and track what the customer is saying and how the sales rep is reacting to what the customer says, and are they saying the right things, and are they following the presentation the correct way? Are they on script? And when you put AI in that from like an analysis perspective, the insights that it surfaces are just unbelievable. What you see and how easy it is to then retrain and coach your sales team on the fly to improve their conversion. So you're not wasting those leads that you just fix at the top of the funnel by communicating at all hours of the night, so to speak, Yeah,
100%. I think you mean like kind of like a call analyzer type of tool. Because nowadays, I mean, you do a Zoom call, a discovery call, initial call with a client. You can literally take that entire transcript, upload it into some sort of analyzer. So it's like, hey, look, the sales call was a C+ at best, pal. Here's what you did wrong. Here's what you need to do better. And here's what you need to send the client to get him back on track and make up for your mistakes. Or it's like, hey, that was an amazing sales call. The next call's already booked. In the meantime, send him these few things to build trust and credibility.
Exactly.
It's like that dummy-proof system. But what's so cool about it is it reacts. It's not the same system. So it's based off what the client said, the feedback, their wants, their needs, their timelines. It will set up that custom kind of follow-up prompt for those SDRs, right?
And what's great is there's actually tools that do all of that in one place now too. There's a tool called CallRail that we've been using, I've used recently, that kind of does all that. It tracks the source custom sources, custom phone numbers, all that stuff to track all of that conversation at the top level. Then it does the transcription, the analysis right there in the tool and drops it into your CRM. So you don't have to do anything with it. It just tracks it all automatically, tracks all the volume of calls, tracks the conversation, how long the rep is on the phone with the customer. It does all of those pieces, and then it actually gives you kind of a dashboard of the conversation data. Custom, how long the reps are on with the customers, how long are the conversations, all of those sorts of things that you want to track to kind of give you some of those leading indicators to how your team's doing. So it's really great if you can find a solution like that works well with, all your different channels. And again, the best one I found so far is CallRail, that does a really good job at it. It's not perfect, but it gives you so much data that you can then see in your CRM and react to, and build plans around, strategies around to improve the team,
Yeah, think about from a managerial standpoint, like heck, even a year or two ago, you wanted to review a sales call. It's like, okay, hey, Mike, send me a recording of the call. Let's jump on a Zoom call. We'll review it together. Next thing you know, an hour later, you're reviewing one Zoom call. Yeah. Now, as the sales manager, it's like, take the last 10 sales calls, look at the transcriptions, and give me a grade, give me commonalities, similarities, mistakes, all that stuff. So now it's like within 30 seconds, as a sales manager, I can analyze 10, 20, 100 calls and then sit down and have a 15 to 20 minute impactful conversation with my sales guy, get him back on track, and boom, now we're moving on. And it's it's remarkable, just the analyzation piece of AI.
And the technology is so adaptable. It doesn't just have to be sales and marketing. Like even
I was just going to say, there's
customer
so much
service or customer success, whatever the company calls it, like those sorts of function as well, just to be able to track and manage, like you put the script in and the AI knows to check for these 10 things that they say in the call. And based on those 10 things, that grades the rep. Just to make sure that everyone stays on, and that's across the whole organization, everyone stays on script. That's huge because that's where you start to see the drop off in customer satisfaction. You start to see the drop off in revenue opportunities. Like, we noticed when we implemented the AI in that middle of funnel, kind of like the AI SDR sort of a piece, we saw revenue per line item go up. Because the customer was more educated on everything the company did, and it was easy for the rep to kind of upsell beyond what the customer came in looking for.
Because the sales rep went into the conversation already having trust and credibility.
They had the trust and credibility, but they also had the information at their hands that, like the customer was looking for let's just say landscaping, let's say, but they also had a need to manage their service provider. So like they needed that software piece. So it was like, hey, wait a minute, we have a software solution we could pair with the services solution you're buying from us, and we can solve both of those pieces for you. Would you be interested in the demo? And all of a sudden we started seeing like residual improvements in other areas that we weren't really expecting because the customer just knew more about what we were doing, and they believed that the solution was a better fit because of that, because we had expanded their frame of reference to what the company did.
Yeah, I don't care if it's B2B or B2C. You give good communication. You give the client the warm and fuzzies about the product or service that they just purchased.
Yeah.
And you give them great service, they're going to want to come back and continue to engage with you, obviously. Another practical, I was talking to a client, I was talking to somebody on the show the other day who's in the franchise consulting space. And he was telling me about the internal application. So forget the SDRs talking to the consumers, but one thing that he did was internally, as new franchisees come aboard, he had 5 customer service reps just fielding phone calls for new people as they would sign up. What do I do here? What do I do here? How do I start my blah, 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 all these questions. He was able to build one AI agent that fields 95% of the calls, and it's only those calls that have higher level questions. Then it will transfer them to live people.
Yeah.
So he was able to, I don't know if he got rid of them or shifted them elsewhere in the company, but you're talking 3 people at $5,000 to $6,000 a month salaries, probably, customer service reps somewhere in there, $15,000 to $18,000 a month that was able to be replaced with one AI agent. And then back to your point, that operates 24/7. You know, your new franchisee that's up all night at 3 a.m. can call and get the answers that they're looking
Yeah.
for and not have to wait till the next morning. And so what he was doing is he's doing this across all departments. So his HR department's going to have an AI agent. His payroll department's going to have an AI agent. So the first line of communication with his employees or even with his customers, the customer service, is all through AI agents that then get filtered up to a human being if it's necessary at that time. But you know, the larger the company, the more internal applications I feel, you know, start opening up, where it's like you're saying, the AI SDR, okay, that's like Captain Obvious, but where can you as an AI and business consultant,
absolutely,
dig a little deeper and go a little farther into, you know, even internal applications and things of that nature.
Because it doesn't take a lot of, it's not a heavy lift to kind of train the AI SDR agent to be an AI customer success agent. You know, because you're doing the training, you're telling it what to do, what to say, you're giving it the script, you're giving the information, all the data that goes into it and teaches it what to do. You control that, you know, for the most part, you know.
Yeah, you're right. It's typically very similar to the AI SDR because 90% of it is just knowing about teaching the AI agent about the business specifically, right?
Specifically what you do and how you engage with the customer. So if you do that from a finance perspective or a customer service perspective or accounts receivable perspective, and you tell it what to say and how to say it, and then how to react when a customer says something back to you, that's where it gets even it's even a higher level of satisfaction with the customers when it knows how to react the right way. Because if you know, that's where you can, but if you can have a customer respond back a certain way and then you react back through the agent, then that's where you can provide an even higher level of support. And again, and when it gets to too high a level, when it asks a certain question, that's when you pass it along. And now your internal reps are actually, their numbers, their metrics improve because they're not fielding all like these tier one sort of calls that you don't really need a live person to deal with. I mean, you see it everywhere now. I mean, every company you engage with has this built in somewhere.
I agree 100%. And then, yeah, to your point, you're on top of making things more efficient. Another byproduct is happier sales teams because they're not wasting their time. You know, what's the old Glengarry? You look like you're about my age, you know, so you know what Glen Ross is, right? So it's like, you know, you're not pitching wood, so to speak, you know, all freaking day. It's like, hey, this guy's been to my website. He's engaged with me. He's answered emails. He's, you know, he wants me to call him. I'm not calling him like, hey, you know, you don't know that you need this yet, but I'm about to tell you why you need it, right? That you know, it's not one of those conversations.
I know you checked this out. Like, I know you've researched this. I know you're looking for this. All the information that I have shows me that this is something you're interested in. Let's talk about the why and how we can solve that problem. You know,
yeah, exactly. Like what's missing right now? What questions haven't been answered?
Yeah. So like the first half of the pitch, like that's what I've even seen recently is it's led to changes in how presentations are even being given now. Like the days of, like the traditional PowerPoint decks where you walk people through 20 slides about the organization, what the company's all about. Like, it's just not that way anymore, you know? And I think AI is showed us, particularly when you have the overlays that can analyze the presentations, how to rebuild and how to re-engage at that sales meeting in a way that the customer kind of controls, but you control, you know, because just based on like, okay, like you present 20 slides and the customer is really only interested in these 3 slides. So, and it's like, you know, if you reorganize your deck this way, and, you know, if you focus on these slides, how much difference you see in the sales conversation. And that's where we saw, the close rate go up because we literally went from a 25-page PowerPoint to a more of an engagement. Are you familiar with Prezi?
I was just going to ask you if you're familiar with StoryDoc, but I have a feeling it's kind of the same thing. Yeah.
Get you away from the old-fashioned PowerPoint decks into something that's just like, well, here's what we're going to talk about. Where do you want to start, kind of thing. And the conversation just goes where they want to go with it. And by doing that, we saw that the customer was like 70% more engaged with us during the presentation just by what they were saying, because the AI was analyzing their tone, was analyzing their speech, was analyzing the questions against what you were pitching. And we saw, okay, well, maybe, this slide they never really like. We were like reacting on the fly, almost real time, adjusting the pitch, so the reps could be most effective when they're in there with the customer, just based on what the AI was seeing and hearing. So it's changed the business in every aspect. If it's done the right way. You can't do everything at once. Like, you absolutely can't implement all these solutions at one time. You gotta, again, it's like I always say, like that 80-20 rule, like you gotta find what's gonna create the greatest impact and start there. Because that's what's going to ultimately give you the success to implement it everywhere else. If you do it all across the board, you're going to fail. There's no way you're going to be successful.
Yeah, you can't. It's like going to the gym and trying to train every body part at once. Like, it's physically impossible, right? You just can't do it. You can combine a couple of them that are, chest and triceps kind of work together, right? That type of stuff. But you can't work your chest and your calves at the same time, or maybe you can, but you're gonna look pretty funny in the gym, right?
They're doing it, yeah.
But yeah, so we had, to your point, it's the customization of the presentation. So when you jump on a call with that potential client or prospect, they're not seeing just some generic PowerPoint presentation, the same 25 slides that everybody else has seen. You could insert logos, you can customize wants and needs, what, industry, go in and put industry specific problems in that presentation. So it's like, hey, Mike, I see you're in the heavy equipment industry. I found these few articles online that highlighted the top 5 problems in the industry right now. Are you experiencing that too? They're like, whoa, you mean you went and found articles about my business and learned about my business before you went and spent time on me before I even talked to you? Well, and you don't have to tell them that AI did it in 37 seconds, flat, or 3.7 seconds, but between LinkedIn and everything else, there was a gentleman a few shows ago that was, I think, earlier last week, but he was just like, there is absolutely zero excuse to show up to a sales call or a business call without knowing about the other person and their business and their niche and everything else. Like, you should be able to identify articles, top 5 problems in the industries, what are they facing, in everything.
And like you said, within 30 seconds, I mean, you should be able, again, you have to know the technology, but I mean, you should be able to write a prompt for ChatGPT to do all that analysis in 30 seconds. Again, you have to dig through it then and make sure you verify it all and that it's all good data. But the fact that it didn't take you a week to put that, it used to be where it would take you a week. You would spend a week or two leading up to your sales calls, prepping for the sales calls, putting your deck together. What slides am I going to put in, put out? What am I going to include? Did I do my research? Now that all gets done like in less than a minute, and it allows you to focus on the really focused questions, focused issues the company's having, because you already know all the general info, and that gives them that calming sense when you first get in there, and they'll open up, and
and if you can have all that business info on them, now go spend a few more minutes and research the people. You're getting on phone with the CEO and the CFO, right? Where did they go to school? Where do they live? Where's their alma mater for, do they have kids? Like, go learn a little bit more about them, because one of the biggest, and that's, been talking to so many B2B businesses, it's everybody's like, yeah, but it's still a relationship business. And it's like 100%. Like, I'm not here as, saying, hey, AI has to do everything. AI is going to close that $100,000 yearly contract for you. But AI is going to allow you to 10 to 20 to 100x your ability to expose yourself to your addressable market, attract more people to your website, attract more people into your sphere, so to speak. And then it's just a game of numbers, building that relationship. And one of the gentlemen that he was on the other day was saying that it was fine tuning that process of where does AI stop and the human come in. And then once the human comes in, how do we balance that interaction from AI follow-ups and reminders to that human interaction? Because, you're selling a B2C, a pair of shoes or tube of toothpaste, right? You never need anybody. It's just an e-com landing page, boom, click, they're checking out and they're on their way. B2B is not like that. B2B is a 3 to 6 month relationship before you can even send out a proposal to try to get their business. And
Yeah.
you know what I tell people in the B2B space, if your marketing company, if a guy like you can get their business on the short list when that decision's ready to be made. So if that company's like, hey, I need a new cybersecurity company, it's a 6-figure year contract. Here are the 2 to 3 companies that I'm going to give the opportunity to give me a proposal and get my business. From a marketing standpoint, if you can get them on that short list, you're doing your job. And now obviously the business themselves has to, you know, get it out of the red zone and into the end zone, right?
And that's where, like I said, leveraging AI to do that research is so beneficial, because you never know like when the customer is ready, you know, so to speak. You have to really do your research and know what their their sales cycles are, their, like where they are in their contract and all that. And with AI, you can identify a lot of those touch points more effectively, because it's just not more effectively, more quickly. You can get
effectively, quickly. I mean, it's the same thing.
Because it really, what you're doing is you're identifying, okay, this company is ready to buy now because the research I just did through AI showed me that they've been on, they've looked at these 6 different websites, or they're posted, they've recently posted these 3 or 4 jobs related to the solution that we're talking about. Those are great identifiers, that sales reps can use or marketers can use to kind of help, kind of close that gap, between how long it takes to get a person to the table to pitch the contract, to pitch the proposal, the solution. One thing that I really, really started to do a lot, and I love doing, is creating, prompts for ChatGPT that, act as a type of a buyer, that kind of a prompt. And then throw in, okay, act as this type of buyer and you work for this company, throw the website in, kind of thing. Tell me what your 3 biggest issues might be based on, last year's performance, kind of thing. And all of a sudden you have everything you need to go into a meeting like in less than a minute. And if you
and the guy on the other side of the table is like, dude, did you just like read my brain? Like,
yeah. And I mean, again, and that's like the low hanging fruit AI technology part that I look at. It's like, if you're not at the very least doing that now, you're like, forget it. You're behind everyone else by miles. You should be at the very least doing that sort of AI work, in sales and marketing, or really in any part of your business. You've got to be doing at least that. I mean, or even if you take even a step further, if you're not at least, you haven't created an image on Midjourney or an image, like, if you haven't at least done that now, I mean, you're like way behind. It's the company.
Yeah, you don't need to be producing movies on Sora and all that kind of stuff. But it's it was cool. I interviewed a gentleman the other day. It's a cookie business out of kind of nowhere, but they make these big cookies. They have multiple locations, and they do like they're trying to get into other like more retail stores. So that's where like the kind of the B2B I was picking his brain, like how do you get into a grocery store, that type of stuff. But what he was saying is, it's a gentleman just out of college. His mom founded the business. But what I thought was cool, what the mom did, and the mom, I'm assuming, is older, maybe my age. I guess I'm kind of older now, being 45, although I try not to think of myself as. But what she told all of her employees outside of like the bakers is, every week when they meet, they need to come to her with one more way that they're implementing AI on a daily basis. So rather than from like the managerial standpoint, like, hey, you have to use this AI tool and we're going to do this, it's like, look, let's take the next 4 to 8 weeks. You guys start finding ways to start implementing AI into your daily business or into your daily workflow, making your days more efficient. Then we'll come together at the end of each month, figure out which AI tools are best and that we can collectively use together. And I was like, shit, that was a great idea. Like, I thought, rather than because a few shows ago, we were on with like a mental coach, and she was saying that employees, what she finds freak out about AI is typically when the managerial or the levels above the leadership don't communicate, where it's like, hey, we're going to use AI and we're going to be rolling out AI in the next couple of months, be ready, blah, blah, blah. Well, employees hear as, I'm being replaced. AI is going to take my job, right? When that might not even be the case. It's like, hey, we want to get 1.5x out of everybody here. So we're going to keep this same core group, but instead of hiring people, we want to implement AI, keep everybody's job secure, but let's go 1.25, 1.5 production with the same core group of people. We need you to embrace AI so we can make that happen. It's that communication from the leadership standpoint. So, the employees themselves, the people that companies rely on, are not sitting there scared or worried that their jobs are going to go away.
Yeah, and that's what I found to be like the toughest blocker is getting the employees on board with it. Because what you said is, I knew exactly where you were going with that. Because I'm like, we see it all the time. But I mean, it also helps identify where you can find champions within the organization that are going to help with the rollout and help with the implementation. Because the other ones are going to help kind of calm everyone else down as well. And that's where implementing one idea of AI every week or every month is a great way to do it. It sounds are you familiar with 4 disciplines of execution or 4DX?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's a business optimization strategy that I'm familiar with. It sounds very much like that, where it was everyone has a seat at the table. And really that's what everyone's role is, to tell me one way you can improve what you're doing this week. Just one thing, and then let's put a number on it, put a metric to it, and then let's analyze it and measure it, right? And it gets everyone's buy-in because they start to think differently about what they're doing. And when you do that, people start to realize AI is going to make me better at what I do. It's not going to replace what I do. Now, that's not every case. There's some situations where, yes, AI probably will replace a lot of what you do to some point. But again, if you're smart about it and you stay ahead of it, you could be in the driver's seat for what AI is doing with the role you're in.
And that's where on the, from an employer standpoint, communication's big, but from an employee standpoint though, too, I think a lot of employees, you have to take that initiative and start learning. Do you have to become an AI expert? No, but you got to be open-minded and embrace it. And, maybe spend 15, 20 minutes on your off hours at home, poking around and learning a little bit more about it. So you're not so scared and closed off about it. Because like you said, it's those, I remember one of my first jobs was at a deli in Los Angeles. And I didn't like the job, but one of my bosses said, the best job security you can ever have is do something that nobody else at the company can do, so they can't fire you. And to me, AI is this golden opportunity for employees. If you're at a B2B business that isn't embracing AI, holy crap, step up, start learning AI, start, be that forefront, be the expert on AI. And guess what? That's about as good a job security as you can ever have. If you're doing something that nobody else can do or understand for the most part.
It's so unique function to function within the organization. If you're doing AI for marketing, you're good. If you're a marketer doing AI for marketing, because the guy that's doing AI for phone systems or is doing AI for, customer success or for finance analysis or whatever they're using it for, they're not going to be able to touch you still, because you're doing it for what you do it for. And that's how we actually got everyone, when we implemented AI, that AI SDR I was mentioning before, the biggest issue all the call center people had was we're getting replaced. They're going to go with AI SDRs and we're going to lose our jobs. And we were like, listen, this is why we're doing it. We found one person that was thinking the right way about it. And we said, you know what, you're going to be our guinea pig. You're going to be the person that we roll this out with for testing. And what we ended up showing the rest of the team was her earnings went up when we implemented the AI solution in her flows, because now she's talking to more qualified people. She's getting more appointments booked.
Because it's a commission job, right? So her earnings went up.
It was commission. So it was hourly, but they got commission for appointments that actually were kept, right? So all of a sudden her earnings went up. We said, see, this SDR is going to make you more effective at your job. It's going to help you make more money and grow as an employee within the organization, because now you're able to have better conversations and you're getting more revenue through the door. And they were like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't think about that. And all of a sudden, everyone's like, this is great. I want to try it too. It was that's how
Yeah, and that's how it's like I would approach it. It's like, look, what if you could get 5 times the amount of work done in the day? Like
Yeah.
that, would that make you more valuable to me as your employer? Would that make you more valuable to an employer? Yes, of course. Well, that's what AI can enable you to do, is be a more efficient, a better employee, not necessarily make you a completely obsolete
And
employee.
even more so if that's impactful work too, because you're doing the work quality goes up because you're getting better analysis done. You're getting better research done. So not only is the volume of work and the amount of work we're able to do, but how good the work is also improves. Which that's the golden goose right there. From an employer perspective, to be impactful, to be worth what worth what you're doing because you're providing so much potential to the organization. That's what companies want. They want productivity. They want effectiveness. They want efficiency. They don't want you just doing work for the sake of doing work, no matter what anyone says. So if you can leverage the tools that way to kind of get to that point, you're going to be 10 times better off than you were, and you're going to make the company grow. And if the company grows, then you're going to be able to grow because that's just how it works, like, and employees that get that, they're the greatest asset because it's only going to work. AI is only going to have the impact you want it to have if the employees buy into it, if the people doing the work and have to use the tool want to use the tool, because there's still ways to kind of use it the wrong way and not get the results you're looking for and be like, oh, see, it doesn't work. And it's like, that's because we're not, it's not being used the right way. So you got to really it's got to be top to bottom buy-in or it just doesn't work. And I think that's what I see companies struggling with the most is how they're going about implementing it. Like I said at the very beginning, implement it with purpose, make sure you get buy-in from everybody. And that's where like having like that almost like a AI committee within an organization is a great way to go about doing it. So it doesn't come top down. Because anytime something comes top down, there's always friction. Just
Yeah, for
natural.
sure. Especially if it comes top down without communication and a proper
Yeah.
rollout, then forget about it. But yeah, I agree. I like that type of committee approach. Everybody has a say. And then when it does roll out, it's like, hey, look, this got a 2/3 vote or majority vote in the committee.
Yeah.
So it's not just one person, hey, this has to be done this way. That's
Yeah.
a really good idea. Honestly, I feel like you and I can probably talk about this till we
Forever.
have both turn blue in the face and forever and ever. But I think we've covered some great stuff in terms of the SDRs, the research, the analyzation of sales calls and sales flows, and all that type of stuff. So super, very valuable information. Really appreciate you being on the show here today, Mike. I feel like the audience definitely learned something.
That was fun. It was a good conversation.
Yeah. Now, before we sign off, I always like to throw this last question out there. But what is your favorite book? And I used to say business book, but really just any book. Like, what's one book that you always kind of like? For mine is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. What's one of the books that's changed?
Change by Design.
Who's the author? You're covering the last name there.
Tim Brown.
Tim Brown.
Yeah,
Change by Design.
Change by Design. It's all about implementing what's called design thinking into processes and innovation within an organization. I'm actually a designer by trade. I went to art school, so
yeah, you went to Rhode Island.
I went to Rhode Island School of Design. Yeah, so like design's always been a big piece of design thinking. Kind of opens up, more traditional analytical thinking, and when you bring that into an organization, it allows your organization to kind of think outside the box. That's one thing I say when I work with my clients is there is no box. It's not even thinking outside the box. It's there is no box. Let's look at everything from a holistic, how do we just get better perspective,
Especially with AI, right? AI threw all the boxes out the window. It's like,
it's always on my desk. It's right there. It's referenced repeatedly, but yeah, it's a good one.
All right, perfect. Well, I appreciate that. I'll have to throw that in the queue to listen to on my my treadmill or walks or saunas or whatever I do. Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate like I said, appreciate your time here. Maybe we'll obviously stay in touch and maybe reconnect in a few months and have you back on. Because I'm sure in a few months things will completely change and we'll have all new kinds of cool shit to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike. For all you listeners out there, we appreciate you listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. jump over. And Mike, what's the website that they could go to? It's the Impact Us, correct?
Yeah, www.impactusgrowth.com.
Perfect. Go over, learn a little bit more about Mike and his B2B and AI consulting. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and tune in a couple of days from now for another episode. And appreciate everybody watching and listening. Take care.
Thanks, Jason. Bye now.